Okay, I've had a request for how to do a confidence interval for a standard deviation in the same way that you can get an interval plot out for the mean. So that was under ANOVA interval plot with groups. And here I've got the soft drink data from there's a huge series of movies I just put up on an experiment that some students did on dropping bicarb into soft drink. So this is the time of the fizz by the type of the soda. And we get a nice interval plot out for the mean. If you want an interval plot for the standard deviation, you can actually get that by doing a test for equal variances. It took me a while to realise how simple it was. I'd spent a long time looking for ways to try and change the options for plots to make it do standard deviation instead of mean, and looking through different plots. But it's actually really quite simple. So under ANOVA, test for equal variances, I'm going to choose time again, type of soda. If you want the values out, you can store them. It will store the standard deviation and the variance, and then the upper and lower limits for the standard deviation. If you want them for the variances, you'll have to go through another option, and I'll quickly show you how to get that out, but this will store it here. Okay. So if you just wanted this plot and you don't want the test for equal variances, you can just select that and delete it, and then you can change these titles around to make more sense. So I'll just change that to stand dev on the bottom, and I'll take that test out because we didn't want that, and just put the confidence interval. And so there we've got a nice interval plot for the standard deviations. If you do in fact want the variances and not the standard deviation, so the standard deviation squared equals the variance if you've forgotten, or standard deviation is the square root of the variance, which is the other way around. So they're related to each other. They're very closely related, but they're not exactly the same thing. And if for some reason you really did want the variance, you'd have to do something slightly different. I had thought there might be an option somewhere to change this test for equal variances to give you a variance plot out, but I couldn't find anything. So if anyone does find it, let me know. Most of the graph options are under Tools, Options here, and you can see the individual commands and the individual graphs. And I thought I'd gone through all of these but couldn't find what I wanted. So under the basic statistics, we can do a plot. We can do a test of two variances, and this will give you a variance plot if you ask it nicely. So here I've got time, samples in one column. I'll show you the difference of this in a second. Now I've picked the height of the drop here because it will only do a test of two variances, and if you've got more than two categories this won't work. And the height of the drop was only done at two levels, so it can split this into two categories. And then you can choose the variance instead of the standard deviation to get the variance plot out under the options. So that's fine if you've only got two categories. If you've got more than two categories and you want this variance plot out, I couldn't see an easy way to do it or a one-click way to do it. The only way I could think was to unstack the data and then do a couple of these plots. So that means unstack by type of soda into 4 different columns, and then I can do these plots by column. So I'll show you what I mean by that. If we go to data, unstack a column, we want to unstack the time by the type of soda, and this will give us the 4 columns for the 4 types of sodas. After the last column in use, name the columns. Okay. Alright, so just ignore all the other messing around I've been doing. Pardon me. So now we've got 4 columns here. So if we go back up to our stat and 2 variances, our samples are now in different columns, and the first column is Coke and the second column is Diet Coke. Okay, so that gives us one plot, and then we could do the same again for the other 2. 2 variances. Let's now choose lemonade and orange. Okay. So the only thing you want to watch if you're going to put two graphs next to each other and you want them to be comparable is you want to change the scale. So at the moment it looks like Orange and Coke have got very similar variances, and we know that they don't, because from the standard deviation plot here, Coke has a massive standard deviation and Orange is very narrow. And the reason that is because this Y scale isn't consistent. So you would really have to change this. They both start at 0 and this one goes up to 40. So we'd have to change this one to go up to 40 as well. So minimum, and I might just check that's absolutely 0, maximum of 40. Okay. And you can see now that those variances are tiny compared with these two. I might just double click that this is exactly 0. So I'll change that from 0 to exactly 40. Okay. Oh, I've missed the top. You'd have to change those both up to 42. So whatever you do with these, or 43 maybe, you have to make sure the scale is the same, and then you can compare them, or you can put them side by side, and this one will be comparable with this one as it is in this plot. If anyone finds a way to make Minitab do this interval plot with the variances straight out, that would be great. Write me a comment. I'd like to know.